SMART Campus, and what were your first impressions?
Oh, I'm very impressed. I understand it's only like, 2.5 years old or so.
Yes.
Very well planned, I would say. I think also the students look very, not bored. I think people like what they're doing. I think and also the interactive nature, I think, is very good. So I'm very glad that I can come and see, this smart setup that the school has set up here. Yeah.
Thank you. It was our pleasure too. What is your favorite facility of the school?
The favorite facility. I thought it was very interesting to see this. The ceramics studio. That you have something like that. I would love to do something like that. I never did that in my school, but that was very interesting.
So, what is your job as an ambassador, and what do you do?
The job of ambassador is basically, first of all, taking care of. I'm a Japanese ambassador, so taking care of Japanese people who are residing in Singapore. But in the case of Singapore, Singapore is very safe. It's very, everything is very well managed. So, in that sense, I don't have that much of trouble but there are quite a few Japanese people residing here, and so I try to make sure that they're happy. Also, another thing, I guess my job is really making sure that the relationship between Japan and Singapore, which is actually an excellent one, can be even more, developed. So that's something we continuously try to engage. See how, maybe sometimes, we can bring some Japanese cultural events to Singapore to. Of course, Singaporean people actually, before COVID, traveled to Japan quite a bit, and so people already know Japan. But I think there are many, many aspects of Japan that people want to know more. So we try to respond to that and bring the best of Japan to Singapore.
How do you think the school can be a global melting pot for multicultural students?
Well, I see that there's really many different kind of nationality students coming from different countries. I think it's probably good if you, at the same time, you maintain your own culture. But at the same time, you get an understanding of different cultures. I think you don't have to necessarily it's a melting pot. Rather, I think you have differences, but you recognize the difference as something good and see the good in the other cultures. And I think that's probably very important. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your time for speaking us. Thank you very much.
My name is Yogan Ashta. I am half Japanese and half Indian, and I'm currently an IB Year 1 student at GIIS.
So, Year 1 meaning, so how old are you then?
I'm 17 years old.
17, I see.
And your father or mother is
You just told me, yeah.
Good morning, sir. I'm Ahana Banerjee, and I'm currently an IB Year 1 student at GIIS. I've been studying here for the past around 11 years, and before that, I used to live in Japan as well.
Mm-hmm. How long did you live in Japan?
3 years.
I see. Which part?
I think Tokyo, I don't remember much of it.
I see.
So my name is Purajit Bhatt. I'm an IBO student as well, IBO 1 student. I shifted from India 4 years ago, and I've been in GIIS ever since. Yeah.
We also have a student from Tokyo. Guys, can you unmute yourself?
Okay.
Hello, sir. This is Janvi Srivastav, and I'm currently studying in grade 9 CBSE. I've been a part of GIIS Tokyo for around 4 years.
Konnichiwa. My name is Viha Sharma, and I study in grade 8A CBSE, and I've been in this school for 8 years now.
Hello, my name is Yuna Ono, and I'm currently in 8A CBSE now. I've been a part of GIIS Tokyo for around 6 years.
Hello, sir. My name is Ayumu Mizushima, and I'm studying in the grade 8A CBSE now, and I've been a part of GIIS Tokyo for 8 years.
We also have students from One World International School. Guys, can you introduce yourselves?
はじめまして。僕の名前は上村文太です。今はグレード10で今年で17歳になります。ワンワールドインターナショナルスクールには、今年の4月で3年いることになります。
はじめまして、亀本優奈です。My name is Yuna Kamemoto. I'm in grade 8A and I have been 2 years with One World International School. 私はグレード 8A で学習していて、ワンワールドインターナショナルスクールに入って2年間が経ちます。
こんにちは。僕の名前は石川仁です。このワンワールドインターナショナルスクールには今年の7月で約2年いることになります。12歳です。
My name is Soka Vata and I'm in grade 5. I was in One World International School for 3 years.
And we also have Miss Isabel. She's the deputy head for the IB curriculum in this campus. Yeah, so would you like to initiate a conversation? How are we going about it?
The students have some questions, or maybe you can ask the students any questions that you would like to
We
know.
just wanted to keep it very casual.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I mean, I'm sure you have very different backgrounds, different experience. But how is it coming here? The total school life. How are you enjoying it? Maybe it's a very general kind of a question, but maybe some of your impressions or how are you finding it here?
So it's been 7 months since I joined the school. I joined in November, and I came to Singapore in December. So I couldn't really attend school much then. But even so, I've been able to interact with students and make a lot of friends in the 3 months that I've physically been in class. So I feel like despite coming from Japan and being only half Japanese or having like a different experience in the past, it didn't really like ruin my chances to interact and communicate with people.
How about you?
I agree with Yogan, but I've been in the school for a very long time, so I've really gotten to know my peers very well. I'd also think that the school has really given me the opportunity to excel in a multiple varieties of fields. The school gives us the opportunity to take up leadership roles, for example, student council, which I'm a member of. So essentially being a part of our student council lets the students themselves take charge of leadership. We get to come up with our own initiatives. We formulate plans, come up with ideas for events. Then we take them to the higher ups, and as long as they vet it and we get it approved, we get to put a plan into action. So I think that GIIS has really helped me become a better person by expanding my horizons, making me more confident in my abilities, and it has really helped me.
Even I would agree with Ahana. So for me, it's a little different because I came from India. So I was really skeptical about shifting to a different country because I've stayed in India for 13 years of my life. And then coming to a different country altogether was a difficult experience. But then when I had to shortlist schools, I came across GIIS on the internet and I chose to come here. So after coming here, I made friends within the first 2 weeks because the school is so welcoming. And the reason my parents decided to shift me to GIIS was because it allows me to retain that Indian culture. It allows me to experience my Indian culture whilst also getting that international exposure. So there's a good balance between that Indian culture and international. So the name has Indian, but I don't think it's only restricted to Indians. It has opportunities for everyone. People here are so welcoming because everyone is so used to making new friends and interacting with people from across different nationalities. And the school's able to make room for different opportunities on my GIIS. Like we get mails. So I had the opportunity of going to Stanford American School in Singapore for a NASA workshop. And I worked with people from Bangladesh, Netherlands, China. And after working with these people, we came up with project. So one of my friends, their project got selected and it's a part of a NASA mission now. So I think the school's able to get to channel your interests and it's able to implement those interests into action. So I think it's a really good exposure to kids who wish to, study abroad or gain that exposure. Yeah.
I think Bunta also has a similar experience. Bunta?
Yes. So I used to be in a Japanese primary school for 6 years. Then I came to international school. So it was quite fresh experience for me to come to the international school. And the reason why I chose One World International School was because One World International School is with a lot of variety of the culture. And we have a lot of different people from different countries. So it gives me and it's exposed me to lots of variant background and give me new discovery every day.
Yes, Yuna.
My experience is a little bit similar to Bunta, but I also from the Japanese primary school, and then it was very diverse, but everyone respect each other, so I can go in there like kind of fast, and then they become my friends. So it was good experience to me.
We also have Miss Luna also joining us from OWIS. In fact, today is a holiday for OWIS and they are on vacation. But the students are so keen to talk to you that some of them are joining from their home, and I think I see 2 students in the class as well. So yeah, Luna, you want to say something about the interactions that you have with the Japanese students within OWIS?
Well, I think it probably is best coming from the students, because we've got some really excellent examples here with the students of the things that have allowed them to integrate and allowed them to still maintain their Japanese identity. I wonder if one of our children, So, he's only grade 5, is one of our younger students here, but So, would you be able to speak to the ambassador, please, about being a kindness leader? Because that's a really important part of what we do at One World International School.
So in this One World International School, we mainly focus on kindness, and I'm a kindness leader at the OS, One World International School. I look at many kids, like grade 2, grade 1, grade 3, sometimes grade 4 and grade 5. And we need to be caring, so like OS is a very caring school, I believe.
Excellent. So just to give a bit of context to that, as So said, we focus on kindness at One World International School, but the kindness leaders are primary school leaders, and they have to interview for the position. They apply, they make a formal application, and then they have a full 3 months of training so that they learn how to lead the younger students. So they lead them in play, they lead them in assemblies, and they really show the younger students how to be kind and how to represent our school, just like our students who are here today.
So I'll first introduce myself.
My name is Viha Sharma, and I'm in 8A CBSE, like I said. So, when I came to Japan, I was 5 years old, and actually, we were just gonna be here for 2 years. So, my parents wanted me to interact with people like Japanese people and from different nationalities. But at the same time, we thought that we would go back to India. So my parents wanted me to, like someone from Singapore said, like have a connection to my Indian background. But then as things went, it's 8 years here. But my parents didn't change my school because they thought that despite being in an Indian international school, first of all, I get to interact with many nationalities such as like Japanese, Korean, etc. And I learned many languages. Like I'm Indian, so I learned Hindi, then I learned Japanese, French. So my parents think that even though it's not a Japanese school, I get exposure to many different kinds of cultures and backgrounds. So it's really nice to be in an international school. So it helps us or helps me become a global citizen because I feel like when we grow up, we should have knowledge about different people and their cultures. So that's why I'm in this.
I want to talk now. So I want to first introduce myself. My name is Ina Ono and I'm from grade 8 ACBSE. So the reason why I came to this school is kind of different. So first I want to say that I'm half Korean and half Japanese. So what I want to tell is that the relationship between Korea and Japan is worse now. So my father thought that it was the best choice if I stay in international school with different nationalities and with no discrimination. So,
I would like to add that since to clarify, since Korea and Japan have kind of uncertain relationships, so if she went to Japanese school, there might be a bit discrimination here from Korea. So I think her parents thought it's better to be where there are many nationalities, so we don't have any kind of discrimination because we're just used to having many different types of people in our school.
Yes.
Okay. So let me introduce myself. I'm Janvi, and talking about my enrollment in the school, it's very similar to Viha's. Even my parents, we came from India, and even my parents wanted me to become a global citizen. And as it's Global Indian International School, so students from many nationalities would come here. They would talk about their culture, they would talk about the traditions. And upon that, we have teachers also from different countries who would tell us about their tradition and more about their experience. And also to not forget our Indian culture, my parents thought that Global Indian International School would be the perfect school. And also there are many kinds of inter-school competitions, ECAs, CCAs, and there are many facilities which have been provided by the school. So that's it.
My name is Ayumu, and I think my parents chose this school because my parents is my father is from Nepal, and my father wants to wants me to go to Nepali school, but my father thought it was good to go to international school, and in this school GIIS was the best choice because there are many nationalities, and my father thought that it was a good school as there were many nationalities and also good facilities.
That's all. Do you want to say anything else? Okay, so that was our introduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Could I just ask about this kindness leader? What led to decide that you would have such a position or introduce such a position in the school? Was there some specific kind of feeling that you had or thinking that you had at the One World International School?
That's a really good question. I think all schools
put academics at the forefront of what they do. We wouldn't be an international school if we didn't have a really, really clear focus on academic achievement. But not all schools look at holistic growth of students. And we as a school feel really strongly that in order to get that academic achievement and in order to allow our students to become the positive global leaders that we want them to be, that needs to start with a really core understanding of what it's like to function in a society. And that all starts with kindness. So kindness leaders are just one small part of what we do at One World International School. We have a kindness council and we have kindness ambassadors with the older students. Kindness is a really, really important part of what we do and celebrate. So last week before the holidays, we had Kindness Week where we had, how many, Yuna, can you remember how many acts of kindness we did as a school in that time?
50?
Was it?
I'm not sure, but
no, I think it was like, we did more than 5,000. I think we were challenged to do 5,000 and we ended up doing more than 10,000, I think it was, acts of kindness in 15 days. And every time a member of the school community, whether that's a student or a teacher or a parent or a member of the staff, the canteen staff, every time they did an act of kindness, we marked it down and we tallied it up. And the students have trees all over the school where they paint their hands. The older students, the kindness ambassadors and kindness leaders, help the younger students to paint their hands and grow the trees with every time we recognize an act of kindness. It's a really important part of what we do. Zim is one of our students. He hasn't really spoken much yet. Zim, are you there?
Yes.
Yes. Can you talk about kindness a little bit, love?
So kindness is like if someone needs the help, then you will help them. And if I'm confused with something, then they will help. So like a friendship.
And do you feel that at One World International School that people are kind, Zim? Are your teachers and your peers in your classroom, is everything listening to you? Okay, brilliant, thank you.
So we also have one more student who has just joined us. Maybe you would like to introduce yourself.
My name is Jun Yamazaki. I came to Singapore when I was 2 years old. And my parents chose GIIS as my school because if I went to like a Japanese international school, like I'll be just limited to like one nationality, and I wouldn't be able to improve my English as much as if I came to international school.
And so how long have you been in?
I came to GIIS last year, April. So I've been here for 1 year.
I see, yeah.
I think at GIS we're really lucky to have both the Indian stream of education and also an international that goes right from after nursery, after the Global Montessori Plus, going into the primary years program. And then when they get to secondary school, you've got the Cambridge Lower School program, which then leads directly into the GCSE, IGCSE, which feeds into the IB. So how many of you did IGCSE before the IB? Was that helpful to go into the IB, a good foundation?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, before we started IGCSE, all the knowledge that we gained from our textbook, we just had to sort of blurt it out in the paper. But IGCSE and IB are really different because you have to apply everything that you learn. So the scenarios, the questions asked are completely different. But the thing about IGs, it's very similar to IB. So since I did IGCSE, it was easier for me to step into IB. But for someone who did maybe CBSE or an Indian curriculum, it's relatively difficult to step from CBSE to IB. So I think the school really gives that exposure to us.
I agree with Purujit with IGCSE being a sort of stepping stone for IB. Like a lot of the concepts I learned in IGCSE, like whether it's in chemistry or biology, have been further explored once I got into IB. So that really gave me a better understanding. It also taught me how to apply concepts, like Purujit said, instead of just regurgitating them out onto the paper, and like apply them to real world situations instead of just sticking to one question type.
I must add that despite not doing IGCSE, like the rest of the people, teachers are really supportive. So, for example, my maths teacher, he understands that a lot of the other students have learned most of the concepts at the IGCSE advanced math level, but and because of that, he is understanding and he like tries to get back to the fundamentals and make sure that I like have understood the concept and can progress.
I see. I guess there is, probably different kind of curriculum paths, or that because people are coming from different learning experience in the past, but and you are in a way in certain classrooms, I guess you have a mixture of people who are coming with this different experience in their curriculum experience beforehand, I guess. But still, you are, I guess, you are quite successful, I guess, in bringing all these people together and have a productive kind of a teaching environment.
Yeah, I think that this school is very lucky that we've got such experienced teachers that have taught students from lots of different nationalities and curriculum base. So when they come into their class, whether it's IGCSE or Cambridge or in the IB, that they understand what the problems would be for the students and can work with them with that.
I see. So you have experienced or people teachers who are perceptive to all these differences, I guess.
I think so, because there's so many international students and we've got very experienced teachers, so they have that ability to take the students and adapt their lessons and the outcomes depending on what students they have with them.
I see. Yeah.
In fact, some schools, most of the international schools would do Cambridge and IB, so 2 curriculums. What GIIS has been able to showcase as a result of this is actually 3 curriculums. So this is a best practice that we have created. We shared this best practice with the Ministry of Education in Dubai, and they granted us the first permission to launch a multiple curricular school in Dubai. So our school was currently doing a particular curriculum. Now they said you can do IB curriculum as well within the school. So particularly it's helpful to students who are migrating with their parents in different areas, and they are able to then therefore select a school and then not worry about curriculum. Because otherwise normally you start with, okay, I need a Canadian curriculum or I need a British curriculum, and then your choice of schools becomes limited. So we try to give them more variety of curriculums within. So this is a best practice that we were able to showcase, and they were very happy and pleased with this particular best practice. In fact, let me give you some background about how OWIS got into the kindness program. So every campus of GSF, we say pick one area which you will be creating a center of excellence. So when they say center of excellence, we said it can be any area which is relevant to what the value the child should have. So OWIS chose kindness as a means to amplify the message of kindness and to make sure that students, when they grow up, will definitely have a very clear idea as to how they can be kind to others and how they can be helpful, as some of the students have said here. So OWIS has been working over the last few years with the Singapore National Kindness Movement. It's also a winner of several kindness awards, which they have demonstrated through student activities. And so this is, I'm also very pleased to hear that they have very young, like Kawabata, kindness ambassadors who are really picking up this, idea about kindness and taking it to the next level. So like that, I think this is very good to see students, participate in value building, expanding the values, educating the students about these values. So it's very encouraging.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Do any of you would like to have any questions for the ambassador? Any questions you would like to know about the Japanese, Singapore and Japanese relations, Singapore, the Japanese community within Singapore. Do you have any questions related to that?
My friend here has something else to ask. So,
sure.
Hello, sir. I want to ask something about your career. Like, would you like to share about some lessons that you have learned from your career?
Oh, from my career?
Yeah, for us to learn something.
Yeah, there are, I guess I could talk about many things, but I guess I joined the Foreign Service in 1980, so it's a long time ago, and I've been to many countries. I was in Jakarta, Indonesia. I was in United States, actually in New York, for actually a long time, 11 years in total. I've been ambassador to Sweden right before coming to Singapore 3 years, and then I'm already in Singapore for close to 2.5 years now. Also, when I was very young, I used to serve in our mission to OECD, which is it's an economic kind of organization, international organization, and talking about different economic policies. And so that's the first time I lived in Europe. So I guess what I'm saying is, my life has been, it's not necessarily that I selected to go to these places, but you're given a chance to live in a different place and meet quite a different set of people. And I think it's each time you really learn many things, whether it's cultural, and also, you kind of understand, or maybe improve your understanding of how people think, or maybe how people behave, or it's an enriching experience. And I think the thing that I guess I take from that is it's always a life. You only live life once, so I think you really should, or if as much as possible, you try to see many different things, challenge many things, different things, because I think at the end of the day it does enrich your life, your outlook. I think it's this diversity of your experience is what really contributes to what you are. You get to know many different ways of thinking, I guess, and or many different ways of feeling about certain things. And maybe it's another way of saying that is, how there is so much complexity in a human being. So it's something that I think one should try to be open to what you could absorb, and try to interact with many different people. I think that's very important. And sometimes you will see that people are quite different from you, but still, I think there are many things that you learn from it, and then you also need to figure out how do you live together, although there are quite a bit of differences. in between people, but there are also quite a bit of commonality between people. So I think you have to look for the commonality, and I think that's the rich texture of living human being, as a human society. And I think that's something you really need to kind of experience and I think take it in a positive way. I think that's very important.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure knowing about your experiences. I would like to say that, like you said, that we need to find what's common in everyone. And One World International was talking about kindness. So I feel like what we learned from the school, we can kind of say that even though there are so many different nationalities and so many different languages and cultures, I think so that the kindness that we learn and the like morals we learn about different stuff in our school, like our school like educates us about different people and kindness. So I feel like the most common thing between people is kindness. So if we do practice being kind in our schools, then it helps us to communicate with foreign people really easily, because even if you don't know their language, if you just be kind to them, or if you smile at them, it's a sign of friendship, which is really we should really do that, because when we grow up, we're going to be living in a more peaceful world, and more we'll all be global citizens. We'll know about each other. So I really liked your experiences, and it's really informative. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions we would like to ask students who are on the screen? Kunta, Yuna, Sam. Yes, Yuna.
The ambassador's job. So what is the ambassador's job like? Detail?
What is the ambassador's job detail? Job details about your job.
What is ambassador's job like? What my job is like. Here in Singapore, there are 37,000 Japanese people residing here. It's the business people, their family, their kids, and all these people. So I guess one of the important jobs for an ambassador for any country is to make sure that the Japanese people living in that country are safe and taken care of. In that sense, I'm very fortunate in that Singapore is a very safe environment. It's very healthy environment. It's very convenient place to do many activities. It's so there isn't that much trouble, I think, that for the Japanese nationals who are residing in Singapore or getting into trouble, that kind of thing. It's very seldom. So in that sense, So my first job is actually not that complicated. Also, another thing that as an ambassador does is making sure that the relationship between Japan and Singapore is maintained well. And actually, the relationship between Japan and Singapore is an excellent one. So, but I also continue to strive to make sure that it can even become better, and see how if there are more, business interactions that could take place, or Singapore people have very strong interest in many things Japan, culture, food, many things. So how can I bring even more of that exposure to the Singapore people? That's another challenge that I continuously try to think about and try to implement. Although in this current COVID-19 situation, some of the things have become a little bit more difficult to do, but still we try to come up with innovative ways to do some of these presentations. What else? I mean, there are all variety of things, but I think it's basically, and also Japan is in a multilateral context also. So how can Japan and Singapore collaborate with other countries in advancing economic interest, or it can be political interest, whatever, because Japan and Singapore share many values, many interests. So that's also something I guess an ambassador will pursue. So all of these things, and yeah, so it's a very challenging but also fulfilling. I would say I'm very happy to be serving as an ambassador here in Singapore.
Is there any difficulties that occurred throughout the career in the past?
Well, yeah, I have to say yes. For example, once I was seconded to work in the UN Secretariat, United Nations Secretariat, and I was, this is in New York, and for 3 years. And I was Assistant Secretary General Controller, meaning like the finance minister for this UN Secretariat. My boss was Ban Ki-moon, who was the Secretary General. And but the difficulty is that because I had to formulate the budget for the whole UN Secretariat and present it to the member states, which is the General Assembly, and get the approval of the General Assembly for this budget for the next. Our budget was 2 years, so the next 2 years. But the problem is, some member states, actually including like Japan or United States or many of the big contributors, they say don't increase the budget. While what the United Nations is doing is some of the areas, the work is increasing, but some areas, maybe you feel you could maybe kind of do it in a little bit more efficient way and less budget. But member states, 193 member states, have different interests. And some of them say, okay, so for some of the items I say maybe don't merit that much amount of money, they would say, no, you cannot cut the budget on that. And so you have a whole, it's a very difficult situation where you, first of all, put together a budget, and because you have to think about all the different interests that the people are going to be asking for, but at the same time you cannot increase the budget so much. So it's almost an impossible job. It isn't actually an impossible job, but and after you cobble together this budget, you present it to the General Assembly. Then it becomes also quite a bit of a negotiation between the member states, and they are trying to do all sorts of things to your budget. And so then you're really, as a controller, my job was to make sure that the budget, first of all, is passed. Otherwise, the United Nations is not going to have any money to spend during that budget year. So usually this thing goes on until like the Christmas Eve. The budget starts on January 1. So people are saying, okay, we can negotiate until the 31st of December. So this is brinkmanship, and this was one of the most difficult, I would say, and this happened like every 2 years, but there are other budgets as well, like the peacekeeping operations budget, and which is even bigger. But anyway, maybe this is boring for you, but
no.
This is actually, this in real life, there are situations where, there are conflicting interests. And so how can you really bring together some of these different interests and somehow, maybe everybody is a little bit frustrated, but nobody is getting so mad that the person is jumping off a building or something, So that's the how you manage that kind of a situation is one of the most difficult thing. But at the same time, I guess life is such that somebody has to do something like that. Yeah.
That was a very interesting story. Thank you very much.
It's not a very maybe I shouldn't be talking about these things because that is not a very optimistic kind of a view.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's the nuts and bolts of some of things. I mean, and I would say it's more of a mild kind of a situation when you think about all the other things happening around the world.
Yeah.
Because this is just a monetary issue. So there are many difficulties I'm sure that you will encounter. But I think also you have to always think about going through that kind of situation. The thing that really supported me was the great people who I was working together with. I mean, there were terrible people who were in the office too, but there were great people also. So you look at these people really are the ones who really work with you, and they become like lifelong friends. Yeah.
So I think we thank you so much, students, all of you, for joining in conversation with His Excellency Ambassador Jun. And thank you, Luna, for talking to the students and getting them on a vacation day. Thank you, students from OWIS. I know it's a vacation day for you, and hope you enjoy the rest of the day. And I understand you will be very soon back in the school.
I was just wondering, would one of our students like to thank the ambassador for this honor in Japanese?
Okay. ご丁寧なご説明ありがとうございました。
どういたしまして。